Pregnant and homeless, Sarah never expected that a walk in the woods would change her life forever. But when she stumbles upon a hidden stone door, glowing with an otherworldly light, everything she thought she knew about survival, hope, and the future begins to shift. Behind that door lies more than just a new life. It holds secrets, challenges, and the possibility of a destiny she could never have imagined. Before we dive into this incredible journey, let us know where you're watching from. And if stories like this captivate you, hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow's episode is even more unbelievable than this one. Let's get started. Sarah had always been resourceful. She'd had to be. As a child, she learned quickly how to make do with the little she had. But now, pregnant and alone, it felt as though the world was closing in on her. The past months had been a blur of struggles, sleeping in shelters, moving from one temporary spot to another, always on the rural edge of survival. She had no one to turn to. The father of her child, once a promise of safety and companionship, had vanished before he ever had the chance to be a father. Now, she wandered the forests outside of town with only her golden retriever, Rusty, by her side. The dog, ever faithful, was her only companion. Together, they had made it through countless cold nights, endless days of uncertainty. But today was different. Today, something felt strange in the air. There was a weight to it, a sense of anticipation. Sarah couldn't explain it, but she felt it in her bones. She walked through the woods, the dappled sunlight filtering through the trees, casting long shadows across the moss-covered ground. The scent of damp earth and pine was comforting, though it could never replace the security of a home. As she rounded a bend, something unusual caught her eye. There, nestled among the ferns and ivy, was an ancient-looking stone door. It was unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. No sign of a building, no hint of a structure around it. Just a heavy, intricately carved door standing in the middle of the woods, bathed in a soft golden light. Rusty barked and nudged her hand, sensing her hesitation. Sarah stepped forward cautiously, her heart racing. What was this? How had it appeared here, in the middle of nowhere? Her fingers brushed the cold stone, and for the first time in months, Sarah felt something other than fear, a spark of hope. Could this be a sign? A way out? A chance for a future she thought was lost? She pushed the door, and it creaked open, revealing a light so bright it almost blinded her. As Sarah stepped through the stone doorway, her breath caught in her throat. What she expected to find on the other side was far from what greeted her. The forest outside had been darkening, but here the air was warm and golden, and the ground beneath her feet was soft and smooth. It felt like stepping into a dream, a place untouched by time or hardship. Rusty stepped hesitantly beside her, sniffing the air. His tail wagged, and for the first time in weeks, Sarah felt a sense of peace wash over her. The anxiety and fear that had weighed her down for so long began to lift. The landscape stretched out before her, like a vibrant world suspended between reality and fantasy. Towering trees lined the horizon, their leaves glowing with an ethereal light, casting soft shadows on the ground. Flowers, in colors Sarah had never seen before, bloomed in clusters along the edges of the path that led deeper into this new realm. There was an overwhelming sense of calm here, as if the place itself was waiting for her. "Is this real?" she whispered, her voice barely a murmur. Rusty's ears perked up as a gentle breeze blew through the trees, carrying the sweet scent of flowers. The sound of a distant waterfall echoed in the distance, adding to the dreamlike atmosphere. Sarah's heart raced, but this time it was with curiosity, not fear. She moved forward, drawn to the path that wound through the glowing forest. It was as if the place was calling her, urging her to explore, to uncover the secrets hidden within. Each step she took felt lighter, as if the weight of her past was being left behind with every footfall. As she walked deeper, the trees parted, revealing a clearing bathed in golden light. In the center of the clearing stood a stone fountain, its water sparkling like liquid crystal. Sarah could hear the soft murmur of the water, soothing her restless mind. It was beautiful, serene, a stark contrast to the harsh world she had just escaped. But then she noticed something else. Standing by the fountain was an elderly woman, dressed in flowing robes of silver and blue. Her hair, long and silver, cascaded down her back like a river of light. She smiled warmly at Sarah, her eyes filled with a knowing kindness. "Welcome, child," the woman said, her voice soft but clear. You have arrived at a place of change. Sarah froze, her breath catching in her throat. I don't understand. Where am I? What is this place? The woman's smile deepened. This is a realm beyond the ordinary world. A place where those in need can find answers, where destiny unfolds in unexpected ways. She paused, her eyes flicking to Sarah's rounded belly. And you, my dear, have much to discover. Confusion and awe filled Sarah's mind as she tried to process the woman's words. Could it be true? Had she really stepped into another world? Or was this all just a dream brought on by exhaustion? The woman extended her hand, a gentle invitation. Come, walk with me. There is much to show you. As Sarah took a hesitant step forward, she couldn't shake the feeling that this journey had only just begun, and that the answers she had been seeking for so long were waiting for her in this strange, glowing world. Sarah followed the woman, whose movements were graceful and deliberate, like she was guiding her through a world she knew well. Rusty trotted happily beside them, his tail wagging in time with the soft rhythm of the world around them. The trees seemed to part at their approach, opening wider paths for them to walk. It was as if the forest itself recognized their presence, adjusting itself to make space. As they walked deeper into the forest, Sarah's mind raced. She had spent so many months alone, wandering the woods in search of some semblance of safety, but this place felt different. It felt like it had a purpose, as if it was alive in ways she couldn't understand. There was an energy here, a quiet hum beneath the earth that seemed to call to her in a way nothing else ever had. The woman turned to Sarah, her smile gentle. This is a realm of balance, she said, her voice like the whisper of wind through the trees. It exists to bring those who seek refuge into harmony with themselves. Sarah blinked, trying to wrap her head around what she was hearing. Refuge? She repeated. But, I don't understand. How did I get here? Why am I here? The woman's expression softened, as though she had expected the question. You are here because you are in need of more than just survival. You are seeking meaning, purpose, a way forward. This realm offers what you need. Sarah stopped in her tracks, her heart pounding in her chest. But how can I believe that? This is all so unreal. I'm just a woman in the woods. I don't belong here. The woman paused as well, allowing Sarah's words to hang in the air before responding. You may not know yet how this world fits into your life, but it is a part of you. And just as the trees and plants here grow in their own time, so too must you grow. This is the beginning of your journey. Her words felt heavy in the air, and for the first time, Sarah allowed herself to truly listen to the stillness of the forest. The gentle breeze ruffled her hair, the soft crunch of moss beneath her boots, and the distant sound of water flowing in a stream nearby, all of it felt like a lullaby, guiding her into something unknown. They reached the edge of a small clearing, where a large stone circle stood. The stones were arranged in a pattern, each one inscribed with symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. The air here felt thicker, more potent, like the place itself was charged with ancient power. The woman stopped at the center of the circle and turned to Sarah. This is the heart of the forest, she said. It is a place where choices are made, where paths cross, and futures are decided. It will show you what you must see. Sarah stepped forward hesitantly, feeling the weight of the moment. The stones seemed to pulse around her, each one vibrating with a quiet, steady energy that called to something deep inside her. She wasn't sure what to expect, but there was a strange sense of calm that washed over her. As she stepped into the circle, the world around her seemed to blur and shift. The air hummed louder now, and the glow from the stones grew brighter. Something ancient stirred within her, an awareness, a knowing, as though she was tapping into something vast and eternal. The woman's voice broke through the fog of her thoughts. The forest will reveal to you what you need to understand. In an instant, the images flooded her mind. She saw flashes of her past moments of pain and loss, but also moments of strength and resilience. And then, as if the forest was showing her what could be, she saw herself holding her child, standing in front of the stone door. This time, the light wasn't just from the door, it radiated from her. Her heart thudded in her chest, and she opened her eyes to find the clearing still, the forest silent. The woman was watching her, a knowing smile on her face. "Do you understand now?" she asked softly. Sarah nodded, her breath shallow. She didn't know everything, but for the first time in years, she felt the weight of the world lifting off her shoulders. She had a purpose now, a path to follow. Sarah stood in the center of the stone circle, her mind still reeling from the visions she had seen. The world felt so different now, not just the forest, but the way she saw herself, the way she understood her place in it all. She wasn't just a homeless woman anymore. She wasn't just a girl who had been abandoned, left to survive by sheer willpower. She was someone who had been called to something greater. The woman beside her, who had been so quiet during the vision, finally spoke. "You have seen what you need to see. The path ahead of you is yours to walk, but it will not be an easy one. There will be choices, challenges, and moments where you will feel like turning back. But you must remember that you are not alone." Sarah's heart beat faster at the thought of what lay ahead. "What do you mean? How can I not be alone? I've always been alone." The woman placed a hand gently on Sarah's shoulder. "You will find others along the way. The forest, the door, they are not just here to guide you, but to remind you that every journey is interconnected. You are part of something larger than yourself." For the first time, Sarah began to understand. It wasn't just about her survival or the life she had tried to create. It was about something more profound, a journey of self-discovery, of connection, and of transformation. Her child wasn't just a part of her. The child represented the beginning of something new. And the door, the glowing light, was calling her forward, not just for her own sake, but for the sake of something bigger than her. "I'm ready," she whispered, though she wasn't entirely sure what that meant yet. The woman nodded, her smile deepening. The first step is always the hardest, but it is also the most important. With that, the woman turned and began walking toward the edge of the clearing, her silver robe flowing behind her like a shadow in the golden light. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling Rusty's presence at her side. She had been walking alone for so long, but now, in this strange and wondrous world, she felt a glimmer of hope, a hope she hadn't dared to believe in for a long time. She stepped out of the circle and followed the woman into the unknown, ready to discover what awaited her beyond the stones, beyond the door. The forest seemed to beckon her forward, as though it too was ready to reveal its secrets. And so, Sarah began her journey not just through the woods, but toward the life she was meant to live. The days in the glowing forest began to blur together as Sarah adjusted to this strange new world. With every step she took, her fear seemed to dissolve, replaced by a quiet certainty. The woman, whose name Sarah had learned was Alara, had become both a guide and a friend. She spoke little, but shared much stories of the forest, the ancient doors, and the paths that awaited those who dared to venture through. Alara led Sarah to a small stone cottage, nestled between towering trees that shimmered with soft, pale light. The cottage had a warmth to it, like it had been waiting for Sarah. Inside, it was simple yet comforting. A fireplace crackled in one corner, and a wooden table was covered in books and strange hand-carved figurines. The walls were lined with shelves filled with herbs, jars of unidentifiable substances, and old scrolls. "This will be your home while you are here," Alara said, her voice carrying the same gentle rhythm as the forest. "You will learn, you will grow, and you will find the strength to continue your journey." Sarah looked around, taking in the soft glow of the room. She could already feel the weight of the world lifting off her shoulders. It wasn't just the physical discomfort of being pregnant and homeless that had plagued her. It had been the constant feeling of hopelessness, the sense that she was always adrift, always a step behind. But now, with each breath she took in this new place, she felt like she was finally where she belonged. "I don't know what to do," Sarah admitted softly, her voice unsure. "I've spent so much time just trying to survive. I don't know how to build something." Alara turned to her, her eyes kind. "Surviving is a start, but it is not the end. You've made it this far, Sarah. Now you must learn how to live, truly live. It's not about doing things perfectly. It's about the willingness to try, to embrace what is before you." Sarah nodded slowly, taking in her words. It felt like a revelation, like she had been running on empty for so long that she had forgotten what it was like to want something more. She felt a stir of something deep inside her, something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years: hope. Over the next few days, Sarah began her training with Alara. It wasn't physical work like the labor she had done before, no long days of scouring the city for food or shelter, no constant worry over where she would sleep. Instead, Alara taught her the ways of the forest, how to read its subtle language and the importance of patience. They spent hours gathering herbs, tending to the garden behind the cottage, and learning about the plants and creatures that thrived in this mystical realm. As Sarah worked, she felt a sense of peace she had never known before. The quiet rhythm of the forest soothed her restless mind. She felt the stirrings of a bond, not just with Alara, but with the land itself. She had been so used to feeling disconnected from everything, but here, she felt a quiet pull, a connection to the earth beneath her feet, and to the life growing around her. One evening, as the sky turned a deep purple and stars began to appear overhead, Sarah stood in the garden, her hands dirty with soil. She looked down at her growing belly, feeling the baby shift inside her. The soft glow of the forest illuminated the small space she had come to think of as home. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving, she was living. Days turned into weeks as Sarah immersed herself in the teachings of Alara. Though the life she had known was far behind her, she still carried fragments of the world she had left: the hunger, the exhaustion, the desperation. But here, in the heart of the forest, she was beginning to feel like someone else, someone stronger, someone who could face the future with courage. Alara had taught her many things: the art of patience, the understanding of nature, and most importantly, the importance of inner strength. But Sarah knew there was more to learn. She wasn't sure what she was looking for, but she felt the pull of something deeper. The vision she had seen in the stone circle kept resurfacing in her mind. Her child, standing before the glowing door, what did it mean? One day, as Sarah was gathering herbs near the edge of the forest, she noticed something different. A faint light shimmered through the trees, just beyond her reach. It was similar to the light from the stone door but more elusive, as though it was beckoning her. Without thinking, Sarah followed the light, her heart quickening with each step. It felt familiar, yet unfamiliar, as though she was being drawn towards something important, something she had to understand. The light led her to a clearing she had never seen before. In the center stood a stone archway, its surface covered in symbols that pulsed with the same golden light as the door she had found in the woods. But this archway was different. It felt alive, as though it was waiting for her, calling her to step through. Sarah hesitated, the weight of uncertainty heavy in her chest. She had no idea what would happen if she crossed the threshold. But then, she remembered Alara's words: "You are not alone." With a deep breath, Sarah stepped forward. As soon as her foot crossed the line of the arch, the world around her seemed to shimmer. The trees seemed to shift, and the air grew thicker with energy. She was no longer standing in the forest, but in a space that felt timeless, filled with echoes of past and future. For a moment, Sarah could hear voices, faint whispers of people she had never met, people she had lost, people she hadn't yet found. They spoke of strength, of love, of dreams. She heard them, felt them, as if they were part of her. And then, she understood. This place was not just a door to another world, it was a door to her own potential, a place where she could finally face the truth of who she was meant to be. The baby inside her wasn't just a child, it was a part of her future, a symbol of what she could create. The path ahead was still unclear, but in that moment, Sarah felt a deep, unshakable knowing. She was ready to face what lay beyond the archway, ready to discover her own strength, and ready to embrace the life that had always been waiting for her. As she turned to leave the clearing, the golden light of the archway seemed to follow her, wrapping her in its warmth, guiding her forward. And with each step she took, Sarah knew that she was not just walking through the forest anymore. She was walking toward her future, and nothing would ever be the same again. Sarah's newfound sense of purpose guided her, as she spent more days in the mystical forest with Alara. The lessons continued: how to work with the earth, how to read the subtle signs of the environment around her, and how to attune herself to the rhythms of the land. Yet, even as Sarah began to embrace the peaceful life Alara offered, a growing sense of urgency stirred within her. The path ahead was still shrouded in mystery, and though she had found strength, There was something more she needed to understand. One morning, as the sun rose high above the treetops, casting golden rays across the forest floor, Elara approached Sarah with a quiet, determined look in her eyes. "There is something you must do," Elara said, her voice soft but commanding. "You've learned much, but now you must prove yourself not just to me, but to yourself. There is a trial, a test that lies at the heart of this forest, where you will find both your deepest fears and your truest strength. You will need both if you are to fully embrace the power within you." Sarah's heart raced. "What kind of trial?" Elara's gaze softened. "You will know when you reach it. The trial is a journey within, where you must face what you have been running from." The words sent a shiver through Sarah, but at the same time, they filled her with anticipation. She had come so far. She had learned so much about herself and the world around her, but what did it really mean if she couldn't face her deepest fears? The thought gnawed at her, but she knew Elara was right. To move forward, she needed to confront whatever lingered in the dark corners of her mind. Without another word, Elara led Sarah deep into the forest, farther than they had ever ventured. The trees seemed to grow denser here, their trunks larger, their leaves thicker, and the air colder. The path wound through the dense underbrush, narrowing until there was only a single trail left. At the end of the trail stood a massive stone archway, its surface etched with the same mysterious symbols Sarah had seen before. "This is it," Elara said, her voice tinged with quiet reverence. "Beyond this arch lies your trial. Do not be afraid, but do not take it lightly. You must go alone." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She had come so far, but the thought of facing the unknown alone filled her with hesitation. Elara placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You are not alone, child. The strength you seek is already within you. Now, you must simply remember it." With a deep breath, Sarah stepped through the archway. As soon as she crossed the threshold, the world around her seemed to shift. The forest, once familiar, grew wild and untamed. The trees twisted in impossible angles, and the ground beneath her feet turned to shifting, dark soil. The air was thick, with a sense of foreboding, as if something ancient and untamable was watching her. She heard a voice, her own voice, but not quite. It echoed in the space around her, distorted and strange. "You can never escape. You will always be alone." Sarah's heart clenched. It was the voice of her doubt, her loneliness, the fear she had buried deep within her. She wanted to run, but something inside her held her steady. She didn't want to face this, but she knew she had no choice. As she walked deeper into the strange world, shadows crept along the edges of her vision. The voice whispered again, louder this time. "No one will ever stay. Not even you." The words stung, but instead of running, Sarah closed her eyes and took a steadying breath. She had already faced so much. She had walked through the darkness before this was just another step. She lifted her head, her heart pounding but steady, and whispered back, "I will not be afraid." The forest seemed to pause, and the shadows receded. Sarah opened her eyes to find the path clearing before her. She had confronted her deepest fears and walked through them. The trial was not a test of strength or skill, but of resolve of her willingness to embrace herself, flaws and all. Sarah emerged from the trial with a quiet sense of triumph. The forest had grown still around her, the dark shapes that had haunted her steps fading into the distance. As the last of the shadows dissipated, a feeling of peace settled into her chest. She had done it. She had faced the fears she thought would break her, and had walked through them with her head held high. When Sarah returned to Elara, the woman was waiting for her at the stone archway, her expression unreadable. But as Sarah approached, Elara's lips curved into a faint smile. "You have done well," Elara said simply. Sarah let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "It was harder than I thought," she admitted. "But I did it." "You faced yourself," Elara said, her voice rich with meaning. "You didn't just survive the trial, you understood it. And that understanding is what will guide you forward." Sarah nodded, her mind still reeling from the experience. She had expected the trial to be something external, something she would conquer by strength or skill. But it had been about her inner world, her deepest fears, and her quiet determination to not be defined by them. She had been running from those parts of herself for so long, but now, she had faced them head-on, and it had made her stronger. Now that you've passed the trial, Elara continued, you are ready for the next part of your journey. The door you found in the woods was only the beginning. There is much more that awaits you. The weight of Elara's words settled on Sarah's shoulders. The trials weren't over, but she felt a quiet confidence now, an inner knowing that she could face whatever came next. As they walked back to the cottage, Sarah's thoughts turned to the future, the life she was building not just for herself, but for her child. She didn't have all the answers, but for the first time, she felt like she was walking the right path. The forest was still vast, still mysterious, but it no longer seemed so daunting. With each step, she was becoming who she was meant to be, and beyond the forest, waiting for her, was a future she could now embrace with open arms. The days in the forest grew warmer, and with each passing moment, Sarah's confidence deepened. The trials she had faced, both internal and external, had forged a new understanding within her not only of the forest, but of herself. She was no longer the woman who had wandered aimlessly through the woods, searching for answers. She was someone who had found her purpose, and in that purpose, she discovered the strength to move forward. Elara had watched her transformation quietly, offering guidance when needed but never rushing Sarah's process. One morning, as the sun bathed the forest in its golden glow, Elara approached Sarah with an unreadable expression. The time has come for you to leave, Elara said gently. What you sought here has been found, but your journey is not finished. There are others waiting for you beyond this realm. Sarah looked at her, heart sinking. Leave? But I don't know if I'm ready. Elara smiled softly. You are ready, Sarah. The strength you've gained here will guide you through what comes next. The world outside this forest needs you. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as she looked around at the place that had given her so much. She had found a sense of peace, a home in this strange, glowing world. But Elara was right. There was a life beyond, a life she needed to embrace for herself and her child. With a final, deep breath, Sarah nodded. Thank you. Elara placed a hand on her shoulder, her eyes filled with quiet pride. Remember, you carry the strength of this place within you. Go, and use it wisely. As Sarah stepped into the clearing, the trees parted before her, revealing a path leading away from the forest and into the unknown world beyond. The moment Sarah stepped beyond the forest, the familiar weight of the world settled back on her shoulders. The bright glowing forest faded behind her, replaced by the shadows of a world that hadn't yet changed. But for the first time, Sarah was no longer afraid of what lay ahead. She placed her hand gently over her stomach, feeling the life growing within her. Her child, the symbol of her rebirth, was her greatest reason to keep moving forward. The world she stepped into was still harsh and uncertain, but Sarah felt different now, stronger, more connected to herself, and to the life she was about to bring into the world. The forest had taught her that survival was not enough. It was about finding meaning, purpose, and embracing the power within. With each step she took, the past seemed to slip further away. She no longer saw herself as a victim of circumstances, but as a woman with the ability to create a future, to carve out a space where she and her child could thrive. As she walked down the path, she didn't look back. The future stretched before her, uncertain yet filled with endless possibilities. The journey was just beginning, and Sarah was ready.